Welcome once again to another edition of the Body and Mind Sports Show. As always, I am your host, The Mind, and with me is my co-host, The Body. Body, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to join you for the cold season edition.
No kidding. Both of us, both Body and Mind today, are suffering from a good old bout of the cold. And it's no surprise given that today we had like 90-kilometer-an-hour winds in our city.
Remember when the cold was just a reminder you were alive?
But sadly, those days are gone. Today's show, we'll be talking about best cold medicines out there. Well, maybe
liquor
or not. Yeah, Gretzky 99 whiskey. That's the best cold medicine right there. So we'll also be delving into the usual, our NFL recap of Week 6, and we'll look forward to Week 7. We're going to do a season preview of the NBA season. Basketball is back!
We're talking basketball.
Basketball Jones. And after that, we'll have our weekly fight of the night. Today, we're going to be talking about Colin Kaepernick. He sues the world. So we'll be discussing the pros and cons of that. Then we'll deal with MLB playoffs. And finally, we end our show, as always, with the ever-popular Epic and Suck of the Week. The moment we thought was epic over the last week, and the moment we both thought sucked. Once again, remember to please like us and subscribe to our channel. So let's get the show on the road. We are starting with NFL Week 6 review. A lot of upsets this past weekend. And the first game we're going to look at actually is Miami and Atlanta.
Oh, Miami and the Steelers. Or Atlanta, Kansas City and the Steelers? Or
No.
we'll look at Miami and Atlanta first? Yeah, we'll look at that first.
We'll look at that first.
Okay.
Miami, Atlanta, the return of Jay Cutler. What do you think?
I don't know what to make of this guy. For years now, I don't know what to make of this guy. Generally talk about him not caring, but I don't know. They showed up. I don't know if this is more about Miami or more about Atlanta. The Falcons, I know after the Falcons blew a 17-point lead, and different people after the game and post-game press conferences started commenting about the New England game in the Super Bowl last year, where they blew a lead. And, you know, I've been hearing all year from Atlanta and all offseason, it's behind them and hasn't affected them. But after hearing them this past Sunday, it sounds like it's affected them. And it's affected them greatly from the sounds of it. Two things. When Atlanta had a great year last year, Matt Ryan threw only seven interceptions.
I think he's done that in a couple of games already.
Well, that's the thing. 2 years ago when they struggled, he threw a lot of interceptions, and this year he's throwing a lot of interceptions. So they have to stop turning the ball over. It looks like they may miss Kyle Shanahan as a coordinator. And it'll be interesting. They face the Patriots this weekend coming up, and we'll talk about that later because I have a theory on that.
Well, and I think that, quite frankly, Atlanta, I mean, they should literally be made to go to their room without any supper, because losing to a Jay Cutler team like that by itself, if this was soccer, this team would be getting relegated, and rightfully so. That's just embarrassing.
They lost at home coming off the bye.
Yeah, at home, shiny new stadium, happy people, happy crowd, and Jay Cutler comes in and storms you 20-17.
From behind.
Please, people, come on, Atlanta. The next game we're looking at had slightly more offense. Detroit and New Orleans.
Defense not invited. Though there was defensive touchdowns, and the Saints defense looked good early. 52-38 looks more like a college game. Wow, it looks more like a video game. It was just absolutely insane. Points everywhere. Detroit looked right out of it. Stafford took a beating, tried to come back. Heroic bravery from him, because I saw him just take an absolute beating at the parts of this game I watched. But man, what is 90 combined points?
Here's a tale of literally, like, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, where we're talking about both these teams, and at the time we're talking the exact opposite.
Yes.
Detroit was the team, the rising team. They're having the poise for having a great season. Matt Stafford playing like never before. The whole Detroit team just gelling, and meanwhile, New Orleans was same old, same old. Great offense, zero defense, falling apart, disaster of a season. Now look at this. Now it's the exact opposite. New Orleans is the one that's just rolling along, and they actually look like they might be a playoff team now.
Yeah, they're back in contention. Detroit, this is a big loss because now that Green Bay's lost Aaron Rodgers, then, I mean, Detroit has to jump on opportunities like this and win football games.
So this, do you think that Detroit can recover from this? Can they? Because they've been on a spin now for the last couple of 3 weeks.
Yeah, we'll have to see what's coming up on their schedule. I'm wondering if they have the bye this week. I don't remember who they're playing, so I don't know if I just don't remember if they have the bye.
They do.
If they have the bye, this is a good week for them to have the bye, to take an extra week to recover. So
yeah, they do indeed have the bye.
With the bye, I think that gives them a little hope because they need it right now.
Will the bye allow them to find a running back?
No.
I guess not, because Peterson's already signed. Cha-ching! Woo! Speaking of AP, why not? Why don't we go there?
Sure.
Tampa Bay and Arizona.
Our epic like of the week last week was AP going to zone at 26 or 20 some odd carries, 131 yards. He ripped it apart.
The AP is back.
And what did Larry Fitzgerald say? If they would have drafted him back in 2007, he might have his ring right now.
He would have.
He would have his ring right now. It looks like he wasn't done. He just needed the ball a lot. And man, Carson Palmer looked good again with Peterson running the ball.
Amazing what happens when you actually have a running game to support your passing game.
Oh yes, it opens things up.
Yeah, incredible, isn't it? How stuff like that works.
Your offensive line even gets better.
Huh. What other teams could potentially use this lesson?
The Giants should have made the trade for him.
Yeah. But Giants, they kind of need everything, I think, on offense.
Never trust a coach who looks like he has a porn mustache.
Oh yeah, I don't trust that coach. So good news for Arizona and Adrian Peterson. Tampa Bay concerned there. Jameis Winston down.
Be interesting to see if he plays this week or not. We'll get more into that when we preview Week 7. As this long-term or short-term. I notice there's no line yet on the Tampa Bay Buffalo game, so I don't think anyone's really sure if he's playing or not this week.
That's interesting. So this is literally one of those where obviously it can't be too severe of an injury, otherwise he'd be out, you'd know, done.
Mm-hmm. But severe enough, there's question marks.
There's question marks, so Vegas isn't willing to put any odds yet on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're talking Wednesday now of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned. Next game we want to look at, speaking of injuries, Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay, Minnesota. Big story here, despite the fact that Minnesota won, was that Aaron Rodgers, broken collarbone, probably out for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the end of the pachyderms for this year?
Be interesting to see how Brett Hundley plays. It's different coming off the bench and then having the game plan adjusted to you. I think he'll be better than what they had a few years ago when Rodgers got hurt, because I think that was Scott Tolzien. Whoo! But they're still going to miss him. And is he gone for the year, or does he come back with a couple weeks left? I kind of think he's gone for the year, but we'll see what happens.
I think Tolzien is actually living in my garage.
Yeah, you should kick him out. I don't even think that bum can pay rent. You should kick him out before he turns over your garage to vagrants. Like, he'll just be on the roof and he'll start fumbling shingles, and you don't even need roofing done yet. You need to kick him out now.
Try to leave my shingles where they are, boy. Put those shingles back up there.
I'm just doing my best. It's not good enough.
It's not good enough. Stop fumbling those shingles.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But so it'll be better when Tolzien was in there. But, yeah, they're definitely going to miss him. They still have everyone else, though, all the weapons. And it's going to be interesting because there's issues with other teams in that division. We have to see if Detroit turns around. And Minnesota, who knows what's going on there? It's Case Keenum right now. But I don't know if Bradford's going to be back. I don't know what's happening with Bridgewater. That defense will carry Minnesota quite. That division's wide open right now.
Well, I guess following on the point you mentioned before of having an opportune week off for the Lions, it's also an opportune week off for the Packers.
Yeah.
So not a bad time to have your bye week, because literally at least it gives your backup quarterbacks even more time now, like 2 full weeks to get prepared for the start.
Did you hear McCarthy when he was asked about his quarterback situation because it's Hundley and it's Joe Callahan?
And possibly Kaepernick?
Well, someone brought up Kaepernick. Did you hear what I just said about the quarterback situation?
Just to answer your question, did you not listen to my answers?
He was salty.
Salty. Good.
He was
good.
salty.
Good. Very good. Good.
Oh, man.
Good.
He was saltier than a bag of pretzels.
Very PG. I like it. Salty.
Salty.
Seaweed.
There was no passive in his aggressiveness.
No, I think he was aggressive.
Yes.
Speaking of saltiness, we have the battle for first in New England and the Jets. Jets. Jets.
I can't believe how close the Jets came.
I was not surprised.
I thought they'd give them a bit of a game, but I thought, they'll lose by 10 or something.
I actually thought the Jets were going to win this game just because every other year, no matter how bad or pitiful the Jets are,
New England they play New England tough in New York.
They play them hard always. This is just a tough, miserable. They even play them hard in New England.
Except last year was brutal in New England.
Last year
41-3.
sucketh, but it was like, I was trying to remember now, I think it was like a game like maybe 3 years ago. They played in New England, and the Jets were again having a horrifying record then.
And nearly won that.
And they nearly won that. I think it came down to like a 50-some yard field goal, and they didn't make it. So, I mean, this is a team that for whatever reason, they get up for the Patriots. And especially from what we've seen from the Jets so far, even though there's supposed to be a quote-unquote rebuilding year, the players have done anything but. Mm-hmm. All the Jets players have basically convinced themselves, no, forget this, we're not rebuilding, we're winning.
Yeah, I've been critical of Todd Bowles, our coach, but no, I gotta give him credit. He's done a great job getting that team ready to play every week.
And I think that was a touchdown.
That was damn close.
This whole fumbling and you didn't have full control or whatever, it's like, please. It was in his hand. It was like, it was like slightly fun, but then the guy re-grabbed it again.
There was a couple crazy calls this weekend. I still don't think the NFL even knows the definition of a catch and possession.
And also the NFL's idiotic rule. I didn't even know this rule existed until I saw it in week 5 twice. And this whole thing that if the offensive player has the football, and if he fumbles the ball into the end zone, it now goes to the opposing team.
Yes, it's a touchback.
Like, who came up with this idiotic idea? It's like, I have the ball, I'm about to score a touchdown, and for whatever reason, I just bobbled it out, and it goes to the end zone, and all of a sudden, instead of getting the ball at the 1 yard line or wherever it was that I fumbled it, I suddenly don't have the ball at all, and the opposition gets the ball for free?
Yeah, it's been the rule for ages. I've never quite got it either.
That is the stupidest rule I've ever seen, and I'm hoping that the NFL, and I've heard people saying, the NFL doesn't know where they would put the ball. It's easy. Wherever the guy fumbled it, that's where you put the ball. Why is this hard? And we have cameras everywhere. There's like 50 cameras, just on the side, on the end zone alone. It's like...
Yeah, but you're talking about a league that can't even figure out what a catch is.
What is a catch?
By NFL terms, don't even ask me. I don't know.
And I'm not going to. My head is already hurting. And it's not from the 99.
Easy.
Speaking of headaches...
I wasn't even coughing for the last hour until I started building up rage about some of this.
Well, rage... People in KC, I don't know if they'd be enraged or if they'd be having a KC-sized hangover. Pittsburgh went in there and just rolled them in their own yard.
Well, a couple things about this game. Earlier last week, I would have said KC, and as the week went on, I remember telling you as the week moved on, I kind of had a feeling the Steelers could do this. I didn't know why this game was speaking to me. And then by Sunday morning, I figured out why I liked the Steelers. And it was like, how many times have we heard the Steelers down and out in controversy and as a team falling apart? And they always respond.
Yep.
Excuse me.
I remember you mentioning that.
Another thing, and Tony Romo brought up a good point of this during the game, is the Steelers play a ton of zone. And when you play zone and Kansas City does all that misdirection stuff, it doesn't really mess you up as much because everyone's eyes are on the ball. No one's following men around all over the place.
Right. Yeah, just really simplify it. You just kind of like every defender, they play their position, keep to your positions, and that's it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Pittsburgh's defense serves them really well, exceptionally well against KC and gives them trouble. And when they face the Patriots, it's nothing but trouble because Brady rips apart the zones. Excuse me. So it's an interesting contrast of styles. The Steelers' defense tailor-made for taking on Kansas City and is self-destructive when they play the Patriots.
Yeah, so this one, yeah, I remember you mentioning every time Pittsburgh is counted out, that's when they rise.
Yeah, and the reason I thought of that
is again.
And the reason I thought of it is because I've been victimized so many times taking the cheese in that trap.
Yep.
And I finally wised up this week. It's like, no, I've taken this cheese before, and it's hurt me.
This is good. Pain has been your teacher.
Yes. A brutal teacher. A cruel teacher.
At least you had the decency to follow pain's advice.
Yes, to learn from my agony.
To learn from pain. Most people, everyone eventually sits at the altar of pain and is given a lesson by pain. But unfortunately, far too many, especially gamblers, do not learn the lessons of pain.
No.
And they keep coming back for more pain.
Please, sir, can I have another?
May I?
Please, sir, may I?
Learn your lesson. Who did not learn their lesson was the Giants, as they did not realize they were supposed to get crushed in the Mile High City. They were not supposed to compete. They didn't even have a right to show up. They shouldn't have even left the airport. The beating was going to be so bad.
Well, an interesting move in this game is McAdoo handed over the offensive play calling to the offensive coordinator.
And you thought that mustache didn't have intelligence.
Well, intelligent to know he didn't have enough intelligence to call the plays.
You mean to read the plays right in front of him?
Yeah, like a menu. The other thing is, I just don't think Denver showed up. They showed up at all we have to do is show up. The Giants are 0-5, 3 wideouts are gone. They have no running game. Giants ran for over 100 yards. Giants did enough to win. Giants had a defensive touchdown in the game. Trevor Siemian hasn't been taking care of the ball the last couple of weeks. And that's his strength, is taking care of the ball. He's not an air it out guy. So for Denver to have success, he needs to start taking care of the ball again.
Could this be a case of Siemian, since he's had some kind of unexpected early season success, that kind of got to his head that, hey, wait, I'm not just a game manager. I can be Tom Brady too. I can be John Elway.
Very possible. And in a way, maybe these couple of rough weeks may be a blessing in disguise to bring him back to doing what he has to do.
Yep. Keep it simple. KISS.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, stupid. And actually, the Giants is funny. Same point you make about the Pittsburgh, that whenever you count them out, they come back with a vengeance. Giants, for me, this is the team that does the same. Mm-hmm. Because as I mentioned before, the reason why I hate Sam Bradford with a passion, player I most hate in the entire league, when he was with the St. Louis Rams, Monday Night Football, and the New York Giants, this was 3-4 years ago, Giants defense was racked with injuries. Over half of the defensive starting unit, all out with injuries, playing nothing but backups. And I figured, okay, Sam Bradford, Rams at home, they should be able to wall up the Giants. Giants had that fool on his back all day, more often than a porn star. And they rolled over Bradford and the Rams. So ever since then, I have hated Sam Bradford because he actually cost me a bet. And it always comes down to money, children.
Money.
And B, never count out the Giants, no matter what.
That's true.
So with that is our Week 6 review of the games we thought were most interesting. Let's do Week 7 preview. We've chosen a smattering of games that we think will be noteworthy to be watching. First one we've chosen is Kansas City at your Oakland Raiders.
Oh, I dread this game. The Chefs have won 12 in a row against the AFC West. I think they're going to be salty after their loss to Pittsburgh. Oakland's offense doesn't look like they have it together. Their defense has been inconsistent. Hopefully this could be a repeat of, was it 2 or 3 years ago when the Raiders pulled an upset at home against the Chefs?
Yep.
And no one saw it coming. But short of that, unless it's that kind of performance, this game worries me.
Yeah, the only thing, though, the big question for this one for me for sure is the health of Derek Carr. Because
I think he should be resting. You got to think of the future.
I don't know. Like, the fact that he's in there despite apparently cracking his vertebrae, not important. I assume that he's good to go, that he's healthy enough to be in there. So if he is, now it's a question. It's like, okay, if he has, assuming that he's healthy, last week was the rusty game. Is today the game where we see Derek Carr from games 1 and 2 again?
I'm questioning whether he's healthy enough. And while we're at it, when I opened my fridge this morning, I found Amari Cooper on my milk container. Where's he been this year?
That is true. Like, one of the most promising rookies, like, in years to come out last year. And yeah, this year, he has been an absolute memory.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that Michael Crabtree at this time would be the number one go-to receiver in Oakland?
It's a good thing he's come as far as he's come from his San Fran days, or the Raiders even be screwed even worse.
Well, so there's the stories to look at. KC, we know they're going to be back. They're going to be angry. Mm-hmm. But Oakland, yeah, Derek Carr, Mari Cooper, that'll, I think, decide the fortunes for the Raiders, good or bad. Next game we're going to look at is Tampa Bay and Buffalo. You think that's some Fitzmagic time here?
I have an interesting theory on this game. If Winston plays, I like Buffalo. And really, I have trouble seeing Tampa Bay, regardless who's playing quarterback for them, because they don't play defense, stopping the Buffalo running game. Buffalo's a tough place to play, too. That crowd's wild. But I have this theory about Fitzmagic here. With Fitzpatrick, you ever notice in big moments, like when he got that contract when he was in Buffalo, he was playing well, he gets the big money contract, he falls apart.
Boom.
In the AFC East...
Just like me on my calculus exam. Fell apart. Jumped out a window.
When he was in...
It was a ground floor class, by the way.
That's why he's still here with us. So when he was in both Buffalo and the Jets in the AFC East, they would try to play, they would compete with New England, and he would always make key mistakes and, falter in last drives of the game, big moments. 2 years ago when the Jets had to win one game to get in the playoffs at the end of the year, he had a good year. In that game, he choked. If you get Fitzpatrick in a big moment, he's an epic disaster. You get Fitzpatrick in a game where absolutely nothing's expected of him, kind of like this Sunday in Buffalo. If he starts, look out. If Fitzpatrick plays, I'm taking the Bucks.
The greatest non-pressure quarterback is going to guide the Bucks to victory.
Because there's no pressure.
No pressure, no expectation, no hope.
That's right. If the starter plays,
it's Fitzmagic time.
Yeah, if the starter plays, I'm taking Buffalo. If the backup plays, I'm taking Tampa. I believe in Fitzmagic when it doesn't matter or isn't expected.
You cannot argue with that logic, and I'm not.
Thank you. On a show where logic is usually completely uninvited.
And it continues so.
I'll take Fitzpatrick and not Winston. And that's my final decision.
Done. Book it.
Stamp of approval and everything.
Speaking of stamp of approval, we already spoke how our epic of the last week, Adrian Peterson, put his stamp of approval in last week's game. Will he do it again as he fights Todd Gurley?
In the breakfast game special. This game's starting at 10 o'clock West Coast time.
Exactly. Football with your scrambled eggs.
You know what? It was the first time we tag teamed an epic like of the week, and he came through. Carson Palmer looked good. And this is one of 4, maybe 5 upset games I'm looking at. Yeah, I like Arizona. It's going to be tough, but I'm taking a shot on the Cards.
And they might even have home field advantage.
Well, it's not as bad for the Rams as it is for the Clippers, and we'll get to that joy later.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we are liking Arizona to wipe out the Rams in empty LA Coliseum.
Well, at least it's, 3/4 full. They get some people there.
Three quarters?
Yeah, well, mind you, it might be empty when they have to show up at 10 in the morning.
Well, here's the real question. When will they start the tailgating?
Like at daybreak?
We talking like at midnight?
That's a good question.
This tailgating starts pretty early. So given that we got a 10 a.m. game...
I think they could start early because I've watched a few college game days on Saturday where they started out west.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 7 o'clock West time. And you see people packed there.
Yeah.
So
I know they're going to be there. It's just how early will they be there?
I think there might be some early tailgaters, but it could affect the tailgating. They're not going to be as crazy for the Rams as they are for various college programs.
I'm going to put the over-under on the tailgate start time at 2 a.m.
2 a.m. Nice.
2 a.m. Go LA. I love LA.
I love LA.
We love it. How about Dallas and San Francisco?
Another possible upset special.
Boom.
I will definitely take San Fran to stay within the 6 because they've lost, 4 or 5 games in a row by 3?
Mm-hmm.
They're 6-point dogs at home to Dallas. And you know what? I usually make my final decision Sunday morning on games, so this isn't official yet. I'm considering San Fran for the upset. Outright.
So you believe in Hoyer?
Actually, I think it's Beathard starting. The kid.
Who?
I think the rookie's starting.
They have a rookie?
Oh, yeah, he came off the bench and nearly pulled it off last week.
Heavens. This is how much I followed the 49ers.
That's how much everyone follows the 49ers. He's out of Iowa! Yeah, boy.
I just assumed the 49ers this year were still using the scabs from the 1980s, shutdown, lockout, whatever.
I mean, the kid concerns me too because he could even get shut down, but Hoyer scares me too much too often.
He scares everyone except the opposing team.
Yeah, but so the kid could let me down too, but I don't know. I think San Fran might be able to do it.
Well, and plus you were mentioning that San Francisco is getting a pretty important piece of the defense back.
I think Reuben Foster's back this week, and that'd be a huge piece.
So Ezekiel could be...
Especially when that's really all you have to key on. Prescott still hasn't shown me he can win just with the passing game.
Yeah, and Des Bryant. Meh?
I think he's been overrated for a while.
I think he's starting to become Mel Cartonish.
Honestly, if you think about all of Des Bryant, because Dallas has gone through Prescott and a lot of backups, and all of Des Bryant's real success has been with Tony Romo.
Yeah.
So is it Des Bryant or just Bryant and Romo were a good combination?
I think it's just that Romo is a phenomenal quarterback.
Could even be that.
But he's an equally phenomenal color guy.
I'd say even better.
Please, Tony Romo, stay doing commentary because he's the best commentator out there right now. It's like I have said it before. I will watch a Cleveland Browns scrimmage if Tony Romo is doing the commentating for it.
My world improved so much when they upgraded to him, who is phenomenal, from the intolerable Phil Simms.
Phil Simms, the man who gave us such golden nuggets as, if they get a 10 yards, they get a first down. Really, Phil? In football?
And pointing out a play like that. And that's why the Baltimore Ravens have an explosive offense. What? You know what? I know these people out there, he was a professional football player, so he should know what he's talking about. Well, he should, but I think there's a serious need for CTE experiment, CTE investigation when he's done. Because I've heard some gems from this guy. It's like, I've never played in the NFL, obviously, and I've shaken my head.
I think Phil Simms might be a future tag team suck of the week.
Yeah, I think so. Though I haven't heard them in the pregame studio yet, and some people actually find their niche there. So I haven't been able to judge him there yet, but I really couldn't stand him in the booth.
And yes, we just said niche.
Niche.
Speaking of niche, we have Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game this weekend. Apparently, this is supposed to be a rivalry.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought both teams were supposed to win in a rivalry. Plus, it doesn't seem as bitter as 2 years ago. That was fun. Last year, it seemed to quiet down. Yeah, there's not a lot for me to say about this game.
Then plus Cincinnati is a team that I think it's just lost in the woods. It's like pregnant forest fire running through the woods.
Pregnant forest fire.
Pregnant fox in a forest fire. This is a team with absolutely no direction and no way to how to get there. I don't know what to call this game. This is a coin flip, except that it's in Pittsburgh. So, given Cincinnati's history in Pittsburgh, they'll probably get crushed like 50-10.
Yeah, that's one of those games. You know, there's certain games where people hype them up, and I don't find them to be as entertaining as some people think. And Pittsburgh-Cincinnati is kind of that rivalry to me.
Yes, it is.
It's never... You hear all this hype, and it's just like, it's not a bad game, but it's not... There's other games I'd be more satisfied watching.
Yeah, it's bad when one team is just constantly... like just decimating the other.
And it's usually more of a slow beatdown too. It's not like they run away 24-0 and just stomp them. It's usually like one of those things they're up by one score or 10 points, and it's that false scoreboard security. It's like it looks like since you can get back in it, but they never play like they're really going to get back in it. It's one of those games. I find those games painful sometimes.
I have always found them painful. Then again, I do cheer for Cincinnati. Speaking of pain, Denver at the Clippers, our favorite LA Chargers.
Well, I think Denver's going to bring the pain this week. They get Pecco, their nose tackle, back, which helps their run defense. I think Vance Joseph's going to have them ready to play after the debacle against the Giants. And the Chargers, it's home field disadvantage. I think they're better off on the road. At least on the road, you're supposed to be booed. I think there's a comfort with it. I don't think this team wants to go back home.
Now, there's the thing. After Denver's horrifying loss last week to the Giants, will their traveling fans, be actually cheering for Denver? Or will they be angry still over that horrible Giants loss?
No, I think they'll be over it.
All right.
Clippers fans don't look like they're over the Clippers' anger all year.
I don't think the Clippers fans even realize that it's actually the Chargers in the field. I think all the Clippers fans are actually LA Galaxy fans and are wondering why the hell are they throwing the soccer...
What's this team doing here?
Why are they throwing the soccer ball around? What's going on here? How did it become brown again?
Yeah, there's something wrong with this picture.
Soccer balls haven't been brown in 60 years. What the hell? Last game of the week is another one for you gamblers out there. Atlanta and New England.
I have a theory on this game.
You have a crazy theory.
I have a crazy theory.
A money-making theory.
I have a crazy theory Atlanta can win this game.
That is crazy.
Depends on Ryan turning the ball over. This game, I think this makes or breaks Atlanta's season. Talking about how they're talking about the New England game last week after they blew the lead to Miami. They might look at this game as they have to go in there and win, as shaking the ghost that has haunted them since the Super Bowl. Now, you can never get that Super Bowl ring back that they nearly won with this win. But I think if they could go into Foxborough and beat the Patriots, you slay the ghost that's been on you, and they could turn their season around. So with a win, I think they could turn the season around. With a loss, I think they're done, they're crushed, they're devastated. And I think they're looking at this game as redemption. And I think they could go in and win it. I think this game's a coin flip, but considering Atlanta's going to pay pretty well as a dog, I'm willing to take a shot on the Falcons.
I like it. Atlanta to upset in New England. The Super Bowl revenge tour. And with that, that is our NFL Week 7 preview. Next, we'll be tackling the NBA season to come. Well, actually, that is coming. It's yesterday.
Day 2 as we're speaking
we
here
today. We are on day 2 as we speak. So let's look at the top stories that we think you should be looking at for this season's NBA season. First of all, the kids in Philadelphia. You like them or don't?
I like them. The only thing that concerns me is health. Can Simmons stay healthy? Embiid's health always concerns me. I don't know what Fultz's health is right now, but I think in games that are all healthy, they'll be exciting, especially at home. Road's always a little bit different, but I think, and they're in the East. So if they could stay even relatively healthy, I see definite improvement for this team.
Do you think Philadelphia is finally ready to make a commitment to winning now, rather than just picking up first-round draft picks?
Yeah,
overall draft picks.
Yeah, I still think they're going to have to make some moves over the next year or two to finally break through. But I think you'll finally see the steps of progress this year.
All right, so some hope for Philly, which is good, because for me, Philly, again, to use a hockey term, I consider them one of the original six, an old-time team.
Mm-hmm.
And to see them being so wretchedly horrifying.
I think it all rests on health for them. That's what it all rests on.
A healthy Philly is a good Philly.
Yes.
Philly cheesesteak, they're good.
Philly cream cheese, that's good.
Oh, that is good. What about the Cleveland 2010 All-Star team that they're going to pull out this year? Will they be good?
We go from the youth movement to
to the old movement?
Yeah, we go from the youth movement to like the seniors tour. Yeah, I think this team will represent the East at the end.
Still, really?
Hey. This isn't a compliment of Cleveland. This is more damnation of the East. And then just get absolutely destroyed by Golden State. Try to picture Derrick Rose and Dwayne Wade at this stage of their careers running with Golden State in the finals.
Yeah, that given today's NBA rules and just the state of the game where speed is everything and size is not your friend.
I'm running out of breath imagining this picture. Yeah, I don't know. I still see one, especially because with Boston losing Hayward for the year. I mean, I think Philly's too young and health's an issue. Washington, Toronto, it's the same thing every year. You got to prove it to me. I mean, who else really is there in the East? Milwaukee's ascending, but I still don't think they're there yet.
So Toronto, you figure that some of the pickups they got in the offseason, trying to focus a little more on defense and
three-point shooting. I think it'll help them.
Kind of a bit more hard-nosed basketball. That won't be enough to complement Rosen and Lowry.
I'd like to see it. I think they got the Rosen shooting more threes this year, so maybe. But it's been so many years of this now. I still have to see it to believe it. There's certain teams where you see, no matter who they have, you see the same thing, and after a while, you just have to see it to believe it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Toronto definitely is a team that they've kind of reached this level of being like, I'd say one of the top three in the East, but so far it's been a very distant third from Cleveland.
Yeah, it's like a 50-win regular season and then in the playoffs.
And then, it's like 4 straight, 3 straight, 2 straight, 1 straight.
Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for coming out, T.O. So Boston, obviously Hayward, monster injury. Will Kyrie be enough to at least make this team respectable?
I think they'll be respectable, but it's not just losing Hayward. They also got rid of a lot of their depth because they had to open up cap room for Hayward and Irving. So they're a really well-coached team. They still have some good players, but it's going to be... Yeah, I see a respectable year. I don't know if I see them winning the East or making a legit championship run. I still see them in the playoffs, but I think they're kind of in that Toronto ballpark.
Well, I guess this will be a huge show me season for Kyrie.
Oh, well, it's his team now.
Because now, with this injury, this is his team. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the man. Everything's going to go through him. He's going to be basically the Russell Westbrook of the Celtics this year.
Pretty much.
A one-man gang.
Yeah.
All right. So, other teams, we like Timberwolves. Shifting over to Zvest, do you think that they got a chance to make a move on up?
Yeah, I think they'll move on up. It'll be interesting to see how much they move on up. I like that threesome of Towns, Wiggins, and but Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler!
Yeah, I like that threesome.
Jimmy!
If they were in the East, I'd call them to win it. But in the West, they might be like 4th or 5th. Amazing the difference between those two conferences.
It is true.
If they were in the East, I'd have them walk through over Cleveland.
It is amazing that basically the top 4, maybe even 5 teams in the East or in the West would just totally outclass the best that the East has.
Mm-hmm.
What about San Antonio? They have been good since, I think, Bush won. So will they continue?
Yeah, I think they'll be good. 55-plus wins again. The thing is, are they gradually on the way down, or are they where they've been the last year or two, which is a really good team, but they're still just like everyone else, just not good enough to beat Golden State. If there was no Golden State madness going, that might still be good enough to actually have a shot at the championship. So I don't know if that's really a statement on San Antonio or just how dominant Golden State really is.
Golden State, that is almost like when you're playing like video hockey and you're making trades and you basically computer's dumb, so you end up robbing the computer of all these great players to put together this all-star team.
Well, it's ridiculous. Steve Kerr said this might be the deepest Golden State team he's had.
Oh, jeez.
And when I went to bed at halftime, they lost to Houston last night, but when I went to bed at halftime, Nick Young, off the bench, who they picked up from the Lakers, had 20 points at the half off the bench for Klay Thompson.
Unbelievable.
Which actually, raises another question. When Thompson's contract comes up, I don't know if it's after this year or next year, I know they'd like to keep him there and he'd like to stay there. But if you have a cheaper option like Nick Young, who's younger, what happens? But that's a discussion probably for us to have on the show in the spring.
So good. Champs still going to be a force to contend with and basically the team to beat still.
Mm-hmm.
What about the Rockets? They got an impressive trio.
It's going to be interesting. Harden, his beard, and Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were down last night, but they came back and won.
I think Chris Paul sleeps in James Harden's beard.
Well, I think he had a sore knee or sore ankle going into tonight, so maybe he could have jumped into Harden's beard and used his hyperbaric chamber.
It's so warm.
It'll be interesting because through game 1 it's worked out, but we'll have to see over the course of the season whether it turns out phenomenally or over the course of a whole season does some tension come out of nowhere or anything. Yeah. But the time will tell if that one. I'm a little perplexed on it.
Can the Rockets continue their insane success at the three-point shot that they did last year?
Yeah, I think so.
Because last year it was practically every game they were almost scoring more. They were getting most of their points from three-pointers.
Well, I heard that D'Antoni's philosophy is layups first, three-pointers second, and nothing in between.
Simple.
I got a shot from the key. No.
Oh, no, put it back to the three-point line.
Put it back. If you couldn't get to the hoop, get it back there.
Right. If you're not willing to drive to the paint, get back. How about some Lakers ball this year?
That'll be interesting to see how that turns out.
Ball.
And apparently Pops is predicting 50 wins.
50 wins?
Yeah.
For his son alone?
Yeah, well, in his mind, he says for the Lakers.
What will the rest of the Lakers get?
I wonder if his son will actually be wearing his shoes.
Well, there's actually the news item to look at.
Oh, man. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It will be really interesting. I have no idea what to make of this team so far.
Yeah, it's true.
I think they'll be good for overs, though.
Well, no matter, despite the madness of the Ball family, we have to remember that the Lakers did do a big overhaul last year as far as with management.
And coaching Luke Walton. They have that Golden State philosophy. And Ball's a great passer and can shoot threes, so he fits in.
Yep, and we got Magic Johnson there running the show, basically. So, I mean, he's not going to be putting up with any kind of, nonsense or foolishness from anybody.
No.
It's like he's there. He wants winners, and he wants to win. He's not there to put on a show.
And like I said, I think this team will be great for overs because I think they'll be great offensively with ball. But he got exploited in the tournament too. So, I think overs will be great for this team if you're betting during the year. High scoring shootouts.
What about Oklahoma City? They acquired a couple of new guys in the offseason, some new playmates for Michael Westbrook.
I've heard a couple of interesting theories about Carmelo going there because I think Paul George playing there will turn out well.
Michael Westbrook? Wait, wasn't he a football player?
Oh, what? Russell Westbrook. I'm thinking Michael Westbrook, the old wide receiver from Washington.
The Washington Redskins.
Who punched a running back in training camp one time.
That's what I remember him for.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook. I think with Paul George, I think that'll turn out well. Carmelo Anthony is going to be the wild card. And I've heard two different theories on this. Because when Carmelo's played for the Olympic teams, he's actually been a good team player and been willing to play defense. With the Knicks, he hasn't defended and he just wants to hog the ball and take shots. So if you see that Carmelo, it could get pretty testy, especially with like Russell Westbrook. But I've heard someone give the theory that they think this might be closer to the Olympic Carmelo. And the reasons are because, one, he has a chance to somewhat win again. And the other thing is, and this is a good point too, when he was in New York, he would not move from small forward to power forward. Now that he's gone to Oklahoma City, yeah, sure, I'll go play power forward. That might be a sign that Olympic Carmelo is showing up.
That is a good sign.
And if that Carmelo shows up, this team could be dangerous. I don't think dangerous enough to beat Golden State, but if Golden State gets an injury or two, or better yet, they might actually force Golden State to like 6 or 7.
And realistically, talking earlier about Payne being a great teacher, well, Carmelo just spent how many years? 20, 30 years there with the Knicks?
It feels like 20 or 30 years.
I mean, he has gotten a lifetime of... Actually, he's suffered more pain playing for that team than most athletes have a right to experience in their entire careers.
Man, I think he's been there about, 10 years, if that? And it feels like he's been there since Good Times is on TV in the 70s.
Hey, we know that we got them. So that's the thing. So that in itself, the pain of experiencing on such a wretched team with the Knicks, that itself might change his attitude and make him, hey, I want to do whatever I need to do to never go through that again. I got a good team here, I got good teammates, and I got a chance to win a championship.
Actually thinking of Carmelo in the Good Times, so you might actually thinking of the part there, keeping her head above water. Carmelo in New York the last decade.
Yeah, over the last decade, I think Carmelo is actually officially a fish. Because he has not seen air in a decade.
Or hope.
Or no. Speaking of hope, though, last team we're going to look at is Sacramento Kings. You think that despite getting rid of that nasty DeMarcus Cousins guy, that they're actually just as good, if not potentially better than last year?
Yeah, I think they're going to have an awful win-loss record, and they're going to be awful on the road. I think they have a lot of good young players there and a couple decent veteran players for leadership. The good young players aren't stars. They're not really deep. There's questions, but I think they're good character guys. I think they're going to compete. I think when they get out on the road, they're overmatched. When they face really good teams like Golden State, even at home, they're overmatched. But I think there's going to be games where they play teams tighter than you expect at home, and I think they might be capable of the odd upset at home. So they're a team that'll have an awful record, but I think there's going to be that night where just don't sleep on this team. You'll see some unexpected nights from them that stun you.
I like it. So there's a team to watch out, a team on the rise.
Mm-hmm. I think it's like the first of the building blocks. They got a long way to go, but if they keep going, I kind of like the direction they're heading.
All right. Actually, let's throw a bonus one in there. Pelicans. The dynamic duo of Cousins and Davis. Can this actually work?
It's a good question. I heard someone talk about this yesterday on a network somewhere, and they were talking about the coach there, Gentry, and they really thought this could work because no one really plays that inside ball anymore. No one's equipped to stop teams like this, and to really take on Golden State in that, like, everyone's trying to run with them, and you can't. Maybe Houston can, but you're not going to outrun him. So why don't you try to do the opposite? So if Cousins
get inside, get ugly.
Yeah, with Davis and Cousins, they have that, and they complement each other well. And if they can get good point guard play from Holiday, they could be pretty good, though they're not really deep anywhere else. The issues are, A, they're not deep in talent after that, and the other problem is this guy was saying that he didn't have confidence in Gentry and a coach to actually do this.
To actually bring Davis and Cousins together.
To actually have them play this inside game properly. Mm-hmm. So he says if Gentry could prove him wrong, that'd be great. Or if they had a coach who could do that, it'd be interesting to see, but he thinks it's going to fall short. But if they do play that inside game, it'd be interesting to see.
All right. Well, that's a team that I'm definitely very interested in looking at, because I thought that trade last year, of all the teams speculated to get Cousins, and all of a sudden the Pelicans get him, and I think that came out of nowhere, because I don't think that was a team that anybody was talking about potentially getting him. So I like this idea of having this deadly duo, and let's face it, New Orleans Pelicans, they have the best floor in the entire NBA. That is spectacular.
So you might as well have a couple big guys who can put people on the floor to see it better.
Oh, I love that floor. I watch all their games just so I can stare at that floor all day.
It is a beautiful floor.
It's a beautiful floor. For those of you who haven't seen it, just watch it. Any Pelicans game, doesn't matter. So that's our NBA preview for the 2017 season. Let's do our fight of the night, as we do every week. One of us will take a pro stance on an issue, and the other take an anti. This week we got Colin Kaepernick. He is suing the NFL for collusion. So, Buddy, you do not like this idea. Why?
Morally I like it, but I'm just looking at this from my logical viewpoint, and I hope this doesn't crush him. I could see why he wants to do it, because I think it's obvious to us all that's the case. Unfortunately, legally proving it is another matter. So unless there's some kind of email somewhere like that, or, some employee of an NFL owner comes out and says, I heard this, good luck with that. I don't see how it works. And even if you have a case, NFL owners themselves, if he's taking on one-on-one, have so much money, never mind the whole league, that they could legally draw this out so much that they could financially break him anyways. So even though I think he legitimately morally has a case, I don't know how he could do this legally. And I'm hoping it doesn't destroy him.
So on the other side, I'm actually happy that he's doing this, and if for nothing else, this is a case of basically fight the man. Fight the power, because it's pretty obvious to anyone and everyone that there is collusion going on here. There is a collective effort by all these owners to make an example of Kaepernick, basically, as basically an example for every other player out there, is, hey, you step out of line, this is what happens to you. So in a sense, Colin is actually fighting again, almost another protesting the owners' basically abuse of power, and the fact that Whedon gets signed as a backup quarterback in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. So he's good enough to be a backup. Whedon, really?
See, this is the thing.
And Colin Kaepernick isn't.
See, here's the thing. Even though I agree with you on the moral part in that and about fighting the man, I have trouble with it. Now, if you could actually legally show game film of Brandon Whedon playing and put that as a legal exhibit, I think you'd be laughing.
And I think they will.
If they can, hey. But I just don't know if they'll accept that.
And I think they're going to want just have to do a split screen. Here's 10 plays, the exact same 10 plays that Brandon Whedon has done and that Colin Kaepernick has done. Jury, decide.
Well, here's Brandon Whedon's 10 best against Kaepernick's 10 worst, and you'd still take Kaepernick.
There you go.
But I don't think they'll look at that in court. They'll be looking at email and can you prove they were talking.
Well, I think Kaepernick realizes that his time in the NFL is done. They're never going to sign him no matter what. And I think he just figured that this was a way to just stick it to the NFL and hopefully shake out some of the dirty laundry in there, because there might be other skeletons out there that maybe this investigation will drum up, this court case will drum up. So I'm sure that's part of the expected hopeful side benefit of this, is that maybe there'll be some black swan events, as they say. There's something unforeseen that'll arise out of this just by putting some light to the NFL.
I could go for this as long as he's got a limit of how much money he's going to leave himself, because so he doesn't break himself. Because really, unless he's coming to Canada to play football, I don't know how else he's making money if he gets below a certain point. I don't see him working in a warehouse. And after this, I don't see corporate America in any capacity hiring for anything.
No.
So as long as he's got a limit and he's not like, I'm going to fight to my last penny, I could go with it. But I'm more concerned of him just breaking himself on it. Morally, like I said, I agree with it. I think he's completely right. But unfortunately, we've seen this with a lot of cases. What's morally right and what legally gets decided can be completely contradictory.
That's very true. And of course, we also have the hypocrisy of the owners, where they criticize him, where they suddenly start kneeling just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Which is wait a minute, isn't that what Kaepernick was doing, and isn't this why he's being ostracized?
Yeah, and then they're doing it now. They're telling everyone not to do it again.
Yeah. So one day the owners are now copying Kaepernick, and somehow it's a good thing. And all of a sudden now, a couple of weeks later, they're saying, oh no, we've changed our minds and we don't want you to kneel no more. So, NFL owners, you suck.
By the way, I can't remember all of them, but I believe Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft are two of them. That found this out a couple of weeks ago. There were 7 different NFL owners that contributed $1 million each to Trump's inauguration.
Oh, fancy that. Surprise, surprise, that all of a sudden they're all in favor of the president's
interesting
anti-kneeling stance.
When I heard about that, I started to even wonder how much like their kneeling was just a stage performance.
I think it's been proven that that's exactly what it was. Pure theater, people. Theater of the absurd. So that is our fight of the night. You can vote for who you thought won this bout. Next.
At least I don't want to bottle you this week.
Head still hurts from last week. That's probably why I got a cold. Major League Baseball playoffs. Let's talk about some playoffs. Talk some baseball playoffs.
Baseball playoffs.
Playoffs.
Yay! Hey, these teams are actually in the playoffs.
Playoffs. Let's talk about teams that are not in the playoffs
anymore. Hey, Cleveland! What happened?
What happened to Cleveland?
Wow, they started off looking like they were at the end of the season, and then the Yankees just came back and Bronx bombed them.
How did this even happen? Because this was a team that I know I had them picked pretty much as a guarantee to make it to the World Series again.
That was there too.
I mean, this is a team that it had the hitting, it had the pitching, like. How did this happen? How did they actually lose? And they were up 2-0.
Yeah, I thought the Yankees' only chance was Team of Destiny, and once Cleveland got up 2-0, I was like, well, I guess there's no Team of Destiny, but maybe there is. Yankees doing the same thing with Houston, because that series last I checked was, earlier before check the score, it's 3-2 in the series for the Yankees, and they fell behind 2-0 in Houston.
Yep.
So, interestingly, this series is taking on the same look now. In the other division or the other league, just seeing Arizona out of it didn't really surprise me.
No.
Washington Cubs, I think we both picked Washington, but that Washington Cubs series is a tough pick for me. Washington, I thought, was the better team with just a playoff track record caught up again. I think Bryce Harper is rumored to be looking for $350 to $400 million in his free agency contract.
That's per year?
I don't know how many years it is, but the 3 teams rumored to be after him are the Cubs, Yanks, and the Nats. And I don't know how you could justify it. You've pointed out the injury situation. I've pointed out the playoff failures. Neither one of us would pay this much for a guy if he was healthy and performing in the playoffs. I don't know how teams could offer this guy.
Which is why the Yankees will be the team to offer them, and he will be this generation's payroll.
Well, yeah, another guy who's injured and doesn't do anything in the playoffs. Good call.
Boom. Yeah, Washington. Yeah, despite knowing their playoff history, I really thought that statistics eventually catch up. Streaks always get broken eventually. Even the Cubs. I mean, they went 108 years without winning a World Series.
Yes.
So Washington, it hasn't taken. They haven't been that long, but I thought this was going to be the year that because again, just like Cleveland, they had everything. They had pitching, they have hitting, they have everything, and the Cubs looked like they were still in a kind of a World Series hangover, and I thought that they were ripe for the picking, and this was a chance for the Nationals. So I'm completely blown away that they actually got eliminated this year.
Well,
didn't see it coming, and I have no explanation for it.
Well, evidently in hindsight, Washington losing the playoffs is just like gravity. It can't be defied.
Who was defied was Boston.
They deserve to be defied.
I don't think neither of us had Boston really making any noise here.
No, they did about what was expected. They showed up just in time to get booted out.
Yeah, and then they fired their manager.
Yes.
Oh, my Lord. It's like, isn't he fighting cancer too right now?
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
He's like diagnosed with cancer like about a year or so ago.
Oh, wow.
Real heart there, Boston.
I love Boston.
So yeah, 2 teams at Boston, Arizona. We expected to be knocked out. 2, we did not.
But the interesting thing could be now, I'm a Cubs fan, but I'm almost pulling for the Dodgers now because I want to see something I haven't seen in 36 years. And a lot of young people won't realize the magnitude of this. A Dodgers-Yankees World Series,
yeah.
It's becoming closer to possible.
And for those who wonder why do people make such a big deal out of this, is that even though it hasn't happened for a very long time, Dodgers and Yankees are actually the 2 teams that have met the most often in the World Series. 11 times they've been in the World Series.
Earlier today, didn't you find a Wikipedia page just about their rivalry?
I didn't even expect that, but they're exactly right. There's an actual Wikipedia page specifically for this rivalry. So that tells you that if you're willing to devote an entire Wikipedia page just for the Dodger-Yankee rivalry, this is a big rivalry. And of course, it stems way back to the beginning of time when both teams played in the same city. Brooklyn Dodgers, New York Yankees. So yeah, kind of like a romantic idea of seeing this like old school original 6 matchup for the World Series. And if they did, I don't even know how to call it. I gotta say it's probably the Yankees, because if they make it, as far as I'm concerned, it'll be through like smoke, mirrors, chisel, stone. Well,
if you can make it through Cleveland and Houston, if they make it through Houston, why can't you make it through LA?
That's the thing. They would be team of destiny stuff. Because even though on paper I would look at the Dodgers lineup and the Yankee lineup, and I'd be like, oh yeah, Dodgers all the way. But we've seen what the Yankees have done.
And this rivalry really does mean a lot for a couple reasons. Like you said, the history of both in New York. And then they had at least 3 World Series against each other from New York to LA, because 77, 78, and 81 they went at it. Actually, it's the Dodgers-Yankees rivalry where Reggie Jackson officially became Mr. October.
Nice.
And the other thing is just the dynamic of East Coast, West Coast, and just the opposites of New York and LA is just a natural rivalry with the 2 cities.
East Side and West Side.
Yep. The hustle and bustle versus the laid back and celebrity, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, yeah, I want to see a Dodgers-Yankees World Series.
That's very, very possible, given the Dodgers got a 3-0 lead on the Cubbies.
And I'm surprised I'm not hearing a lot of hype about the possibility of this series.
Yeah, it's almost like people haven't considered that this is even that there's even history here.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you listen to the Body and Mind show. We cover it first. The last point on baseball, you're actually mentioning that you find that baseball nowadays is a bit more regional.
Yeah, I don't think it's as big a thing as it was. I think people by city more or less follow their team, but I don't know if they follow nationally as much. Maybe a bit more in the playoffs. You remember when baseball now is distantly behind the NFL and the NBA. like I'd say in the 70s, early 80s, mid 80s, baseball was probably, I'd say it was probably the biggest sport in the U.S. I'd say it was bigger than the NFL at the time. And at the time, Major League Baseball probably would have been about as big in the States, in the U.S., as hockey is in Canada. So the Yankees-Dodgers rivalry even would have been bigger then because of how big baseball was. So, it'll be interesting to see if the two teams do face, if it'll get the scrutiny it used to. I don't think he'll really get its due respect.
Well, it'll be interesting because, if the Yankees and Dodgers do face, well, literally you have the two opposite ends of the country. So, and two historic teams. So, if there's ever going to be a series that's going to actually make baseball a national, game again, get the national attention, this is pretty much the perfect game for it.
Even if it is only for the couple of weeks the series runs.
Yep.
That's a good point.
So that's our look at the Major League Baseball playoffs, and take us to the last segment of our show, which is our weekly Epic and Suck of the Week. The moment we thought was epic, the moment we thought sucked. Buddy, take it away.
My first is an honorable mention, before I get to my epic like. Saw LeBron and Kyrie embrace at the end of that game last night. So it's nice for them to put their pettiness aside. And I don't know if the Hayward injury prioritized stuff earlier in the game or if there just was never that much of a beef. But it looked pretty legit when they embraced. And I was glad to see, because even though we feed off that talk, it was good to see that just for some of that madness to end. But my true epic like was Jason Verlander's complete game. I think it was Saturday. And that's becoming a dying breed, especially in the playoffs. A complete game, I think he threw about 120, 130 pitches. That's old school. And I loved seeing it, because to me that's what playoff baseball used to be about, was starting pitching. And the other thing, too, it's ironic, because Houston, the Astros, are probably the most well-known team for the use of analytics in baseball right now and the way they use it. And it's ironic that a team that relies so much on analytics went old school, and A.J. Hinch, their manager, actually let Verlander finish the game. So I loved seeing that, because we see a guy give up a base runner in the fifth, and people all of a sudden think it's a rally, and they're going to the pen. My epic suck, the Gordon Hayward injury on Tuesday. It's just sad to see anything like that. Man, it was just brutal.
Shudder.
Yeah, Shudder says it. I hate to see that for anyone. So that there's not much more that can be said. If you've seen it, you know about it. If you haven't seen it,
don't watch it.
Yeah, if you're not inside, don't watch it. It was ugly.
My epic of the week is from the world of wrestling. In last week's Hell in the Cell match versus, we had Kevin Owens, the Kevin Owens show against Shane McMahon. The epic battle that everyone loves. Every working stiff loves this kind of battle, because it's the working stiff versus the boss. Everyone's always dreamed of just sticking it to your butt, just right in the nose. And that's what Kevin Owens was doing. But in the end, Shane McMahon actually got an advantage over KO, was about to jump off the cage and flatten him right back to Mirabel, Quebec. And all of a sudden, his Quebec countryman, Sami Zayn, comes out of nowhere, pulls Kevin Owens out of harm's way, and let Shane McMahon, the man, the boss, splat himself like a pancake all over the table, smashing the table, smashing his career, hopes and dreams, and Kevin Owens, barely conscious, is then grabbed by Sami Zayn, put over so that he can win the match. Sami Zayn, official heel turn, finally, at long last, he is taking over, taking control of his career.
Congratulations to Sami Zayn for taking ownership of his career.
Taking ownership of his career. No longer just going to be out there and just being the let's go guy.
Happy to glad hand all the loser fans.
Exactly. He is out there. He is out there being his own man, making his own decisions. And now KO and Sami Zayn can just run over the entire SmackDown roster. Well done, Sami Zayn. You have found your destiny.
He's earned my applause.
My suck of the week goes to the U.S. soccer program. As y'all have likely heard by now, the United States national soccer team is not going to next year's World Cup in Mother Russia. Why? Because in a division filled with giants such as Trinidad and Tobago, Honduras, Panama, and Costa Rica, the United States finished fifth. Yes, children, fifth. Mexico is an obvious candidate every year, strong soccer-playing nation. So you expect Mexico to win this group or finish second, but you would expect the United States and Mexico to be fighting for first. But no, it was Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama. They all qualified directly. And just to pour a little more salt in the wound, in this division of 6, 3 are guaranteed. The 4th place team can actually still qualify by beating one of the Asian Conference players. In this year, it will be Australia. So even if the U.S. had finished 4th, they could still face Australia in a 2-game playoff, and if they won that, then they'd still go. But no, the U.S. did not finish 4th because that honor fell to the mighty Honduras. Instead, the United States finished 5th, just ahead of Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, man. On top of that, too, Alex Morgan from the women's team got kicked out of Disney World, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? And I think when she was pulled aside, made some smart-ass comment, cussed to be out, now I know how black people feel. So U.S. soccer all around, way to go. Just doing it on and off, men's and women's, class act. Keep it up.
The whole program, just not a good year. U.S. soccer team, this week, you are my suck.
Exclamation mark.
And that is the end of another edition of the Body and Mind Sports Show. Once again, please do like us. We like being liked. And subscribe to our channel. We'll have another edition every week. Body, thanks again for another great show.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for listening to the Body and Mind Sports Show.